Because I haven't created a project in here yet, I'll look like this. You might have a different screen depending on what yours looks like. Either way, you're going to hit the new project button. And it's going to bring you to this window. And this is why I like Premiere better than Final Cut, because it's going to force you to choose a location right away. So first thing we have to do, we have to give it a name. So I'm going to give this, this is my editing demo. You could give it, CM102 video projects, and you can edit all 3 projects within the same, all 3 videos you want to do in the same project. You don't have to create a separate one for each one. In fact, I would just recommend create CM102 video projects and leave it like that. Next here, so I'll do that too. CM102 video projects. Next thing right here, location. Do not use the default location because as you see, it's on the local computer. If you don't see a hard drive name here, this is inside the local computer. So I'm going to hit the browse button. Again, I'm going to go to my hard drive, the folder I have selected for my video projects, and I'm going to choose that location. Some of these things you do not have to really worry about. Just leave the render by whatever its default is. Don't worry about the time code or the audio sampling, anything like that. What you do want to look at is scratch disks. So I made a little reference to this when I was talking about Final Cut Pro a second ago. When you create video projects, you need to have, Peter, I'd recommend plugging into the back of the computer because it'll be faster. Because that's a slower connection. I'll just yank it. Yeah, don't worry about ejecting. As you create your project, the computer's going to go through and start rendering your transitions that you're created, any effects that you're putting on it, and it needs a place to do that. So what this is telling you right now, where you see everything says same as project, which is how I like to do it, means wherever I put that project file, it's going to create a folder within there to do all its rendering inside. So I'm going to end up having a lot of extra files later on, but it's all in the same location. I could choose, in a larger scenario, I could choose to render onto a different hard drive, which would be silly because then I can't just take it and go with me. So you shouldn't have to change anything there. It should all say same as project. So really you want to make sure you have it labeled and have your location, which is your external hard drive, selected. Hit OK. So it doesn't look like much yet because we don't have anything in here. So let's start with bringing some files in. So to bring it in, again, it gives us a prompt, import media to start. We're going to go File, Import. I'm going to select where my video projects are. And I actually, because of how, so I'm borrowing video clips from Peter right now. He's organized them into each category, which is kind of great. So I'm actually just going to select the top of the folder. If you're taking it straight from the folder that you copied from your memory card, just select that topmost folder. Don't worry about going into it. You can select the topmost one, and you'll see what happens in a second. So I'm just selecting that. I'm going to hit Import. I'm going to get a little progress bar going. So unlike Final Cut Pro, it's not allowing me to do anything while it's importing, which I like because that means I can't do anything. While it's going on, you can see on the bottom right here, it says conforming. Oh, it went away real fast. You kind of have to wait before that, till that goes away before you can really do anything because it's making sure everything's ready to go. So here in the bottom left here is my file area. Now you can see it's icon based right now. Again, I prefer list based because it's easier to see a lot of things at once. So in the bottom left here, you have different ways of switching how it looks. So I can choose list view, or I could choose the icon view. It's your preference to how you work. That's what's great about these things. You can really change it what your preference is. But in my list view now, I have a drop down. You can see it's organized into each individual project. So because it's organized by folders, it was able to recognize that and keep it in that folder structure so it's still organized in those different folders. And these windows, what's great also is you can resize them. So if you want to move stuff over, I like it this way a little bit more. In this same, so I'm going to do a little tour here real quick. In this same area, I also have a media browser, so I could have gone and found those video files through the media browser as well. For importing my videos, I always like to import them. I don't like using the media browser as much, but if I need like a picture or something real quick, I could use my media browser to find it. I could also, go straight from Finder, and I can click and drag anything right into this bin, right from my Finder window, and it'll appear in there. So there's many ways of getting stuff in there, and it's quite easy to use. Not worried about libraries because you're not hooked up to an account. Also in this area, we have an effects bin. This is where you're going to find all your different video and audio effects, transitions, wipes, star wipes, fades between audio clips, slow motion, iris, page peels, slides, all sorts of things. They're all, if you click here, video transition, they're all little drop-down menus, so you have to go through and look for what you want. If you know what it's called, you can always type it in and it'll find it. Dip to black. I love the dip to black and dip to white feature. Makes things look really classy. This next section here, you can see as I click a section, it gets highlighted in blue, so you always know which is your active area. And the active area is very important for when you start editing with shortcuts, because if you're not active in your timeline and you hit a shortcut, it's not going to do anything. So these are your tools that you're going to use. Your topmost one is your selection tool that you use to move your clips around with. You have a track select forward and backward tool, which really, if I have a bunch of stuff in my timeline, I hit the track select forward. Wherever I click from, everything in front of that will be selected. Same thing with the backwards one. From wherever I clicked, anything behind it will be selected. The rolling edit tool and ripple tool, I have to show you how that works because these tools I'll have to show you in a second. It's hard to explain them. Razor tool does exactly what a razor does. It cuts things. I'm not going to use the slip tool for this or the slide tool too much. We have a hand tool, and we got the zoom tool. This part right here, this is where our sequence is going to be for creating our timeline, for doing our editing. Hannah, can you please put your phone away, please? Thank you. So this is where we're going to bring our media into. And then at the top here, we have two windows. Everything's blank right now, of course. This is our source window. So if I double click on a clip down here, it's going to show up in my source window. Now I can play through it. Oh, there we go. So I have, I play in all these and almost every editing in any editing program I've ever used, the space bar is always your play and pause. Start getting used to using keyboard shortcuts. It makes your life so much easier. So I can go through, I can scrub through the whole thing by just dragging my mouse around. I can use the mouse wheel to go back and forth by just scrolling it back and forth a little bit. If you use the arrows on the keyboard, it goes one frame at a time, forward or backwards. And here's our establishing shot, right? Yeah. We're not going to use that audio from the establishing shot. When we drop effects on a clip, we'd be able to control it up in our effects control. We don't have that, of course, right now. We have an audio mixer. And metadata, this just gives you all the information about that clip. The frame rate, the duration, if we have ins and outs selected on it, the dimensions, the audio, where it's located, if it's online or not. Online means whether or not the hard drive's connected. And over here is our program window. So when we start creating our timeline, it's going to show up in our program, and that's where we're going to see in our file product. So right now, we're going to create our sequence, or our timeline. Now there's two ways that we could do one. We can easily, as it says, we could just drop media here to create a sequence. So we could just take this and drag it over here and let it go. That's one way of doing it. What's good about that is you know it's going to be the right settings for the clip. But I want to show you a different way because I want to be more organized. So we have my video projects folder. I like to create a folder for my sequences as well. It's good to have different folders for everything so you can stay super organized. You know, if you're just working on one small project, there's not a lot of stuff to worry about. As your projects get bigger and bigger, you're going to have more media in different locations. So keeping each kind of media in a different folder will become very important so you know where it is all the time. So down here on the bottom right of our project panel, we have the folder icon for create new bin. So I'm just going to click on that, and you can either call it timelines or I always call it sequences. So I'm going to create my sequence folder. And now while that's highlighted, I'm going to come back down to the bottom right here, and right next to it I have this new item icon. You can see that there, new item. Oops. Oh, I already clicked on it. When I click on that, you can see there's a bunch of different options that come up. I'm going to choose sequence. Yeah. There we go. And now this is where it gets overwhelming because there's so many different formats we could choose from. Because we have to know what our file type is. This is where sometimes if you don't know exactly what the codec is, it's easier just to drag it over. I generally, when I'm using HD video, I'm defaulting to this AVC HD, and I just choose the, 60 frames. And we'll see if it likes it or not. I'm just going to drag something over real quick and see what happens. So you see what happened there is I didn't actually choose the exact right one, and as I drag something over it says this clip does not match the sequence's settings, change sequence to match clip settings. That's a great feature because it's like, whoa, you know, you chose the wrong one. I'm going to give you a pass and I'll change it for you now. So always change it to the right one. So now we have a sequence over here. Oh, I never named my sequence, that was my mistake. So I'm going to call this knock. No, I don't want to start with the knock knock. We're going to start with we'll start with the staircase. Or no, let's start with the knock knock. I'm sorry, I'm being indecisive this morning. So we have our knock knock. You can see it has it up there. I can actually have multiple sequences lined up all the way through here. You know, when I work on a wedding project, I'll actually have a sequence for every part of the wedding. Pre-ceremony, ceremony, photos, introductions, reception, are all different sequences, and then I put them all together on one sequence at the end when I'm done with everything, so I can go back and forth. You know, if I work on a movie project and I have different scenes, each scene is its own sequence, and we bring all those scenes together on one larger sequence later on. It's just an easier way to focus in on what you want to work on. So let's make some room here for some stuff. I like to have a lot of room for my timeline. Now you can see on our timeline here, there are a lot of tracks. So we have, by default, 3 video tracks, and look at that, 6 audio tracks based on the one I chose. And these ones down here, you see where it says 5.1 on the bottom? What do you think that means for these audio tracks? Where have you ever heard 5.1 and audio mixed together before? So does anyone have a fancy surround sound system at home? 5.1 surround sound. So these are surround sound tracks. So if you had surround sound files that you edited before, this is where they would live. We're not using those, of course, right now because we don't have surround sound files. Our tracks will be up here in the mono area. So we gotta start with our establishing shot, right? That's how we do our knock knock joke. So here's our establishing shot. So it's pretty much the same. We got a car coming through. Took a lot of extra video. That's good. Oh. So I want to choose like, I want to start from like here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create an in and out, and then I'm going to bring it down to the timeline. So I find where I want to start my clip from. So maybe I want to start my clip from here. And on the keyboard, I'm going to hit a button for in. If I was going to hit a button, if you were going to hit a button for an in point right now, what button would you hit? I, exactly. I for in. And we're going to let that play for a couple, 1, 2, 3, about 3 seconds. And then just like I for in, O for out. And now we see we have this little section here highlighted in a gray. That's the section we have selected that we can bring down to our timeline. Now there's 2 ways we can, there's like 3 or 4 ways actually we can get it there. I can either just go up here and I can just drag the whole thing down. That's one way of doing it. Or I have these 2 things right here, insert or overwrite are ways to insert. If I had other stuff in there and I wanted to insert it in and like break apart what's already there, I could use the insert feature and boom, put it in. Or I can overwrite part of a track and just have it overwrite whatever it is. And of course, all these, look, anything in the parentheses right here, it's got a shortcut. That's a comma. The other one is a period. So if I want to use shortcuts, I don't have to use the mouse at all. I can just get it in there. Now, if I look down at the timeline real quick, you can see the timeline goes for 3 minutes and 44 seconds here. And this is only 3 seconds long, so it looks really tiny. I like to be a little closer in so it doesn't look so small. Our scroll bar at the bottom here, just like it was in Adobe Audition, if I grab the end of it and make the scroll bar smaller, I can zoom in on the clip so it takes up more space visually on the screen, so it's easier for me to follow along while I'm editing. Now the reason why when I hit my shortcut button, it went to this video 1 track and not video 2 or video 3. So if you look, V1 is what is on in blue right now. If I wanted to go to V2, I could have had V2 selected and not V1. Wherever this one is where it's going to take it on the left here. So I have my first track here, but now, like I said, first of all, not that I have to do it right now, but that audio, that audio is just horrible, isn't it? We don't need that audio. In fact, when I hover my mouse over on this part, this blank area next to the track, and I scroll with my mouse this way, I can make that track larger so I can see more of it. That's the audio right there. And I can very easily, one way of getting rid of that sound is as, you can see this white line in the middle here, this is our volume level for that track. And as my mouse is on it, you can see it changes from black to white when I get there. And I get these 2 little up and down arrows with the line in the middle. Oh, and you can even see, I just went away, it shows me what the volume level is. It's at 0 dB right now. I can click and drag and bring that down to -infinity, and now it's muted. So now there's no audio in that track. So now we gotta look at our knock knock joke. Just gonna look real quick at all this. Okay, that was our stuff. So we got, which one's the best take? Third one? All right, so we'll just start there. We don't need to look at them all. Okay. Okay, so here's our endpoint for our beginning clip. So I'm going to cut on the knock knock part. I'm going to insert that in to end there. And then we want to go and look at this clip where he's where having volume up really high helps.
Who's that? Who's there? Broken pencil. Broken.
Out. So all I'm doing right now is just finding all the spots.
Broken pencil. Broken pencil. Broken pencil. Broken pencil. Pencil. Pencil.
Ah, that's close enough. I can tighten it up afterwards.
Broken pencil. Broken. Broken pencil. Broken pencil. Oh, forget it. What?
I want to try to do something.
Regular for.
So also, on my keyboard, aside from using the arrows to go back and forth, your J, K, and L keys are extremely helpful. My K key is also, well, it's not doing it right now. My L key goes forward.
What's up, regular?
And my J key goes backwards. And my K will stop it. But it's not just backwards, regular. If I hit it again, it goes faster. And I hit it again, it goes even faster. Same with forward. If I hit it once, it goes regular. Twice, it goes double. 3 times, it goes 4 times. And then it goes 5 times. So if I have a 10-minute clip I want to scrub through, instead of playing it at real time, I can speed up through certain parts that I don't need to necessarily watch the whole thing of. Okay, I need audio back.
Oh, forget it. What?
Oh, forget it.
Oh, forget it. Oh, forget it.
I want to try to cut on him saying it.
Oh, forget it.
It's going to be tricky.
What's the point?
All right. So here we have, let's take a look at our rough cut.
How's it going, Joe? You want to hear this really good joke I heard? Yeah, sure. Knock, knock. Who's there? Broken pencil. Broken pencil. Who? Oh, forget it. Then what's the point?
So it's getting there. It needs a little tightening up, though. Oh, and we have a little extra clip out there by accident. So we can come in, and now once we have things on the timeline itself, we can do more fine tuning. Because I just created a rough cut by creating ins and outs. Now I want to go in, and I want to look at where I can make it a little tighter. What's great now that it's in the timeline, you can see I have all my audio reference points. So I can see where maybe I'm coming in on a word or I'm coming in or out too late. I can zoom in nice and close.
Knock, knock. Who's there? Broken pencil. Broken pencil.
So these 2 edits were good. This one's a little...
Pencil. Broken pencil. Broken pencil. Who?
See, that one's a little...
Pencil. Broken pencil. Who? Pencil. Broken pencil. Who?
Visually it's okay, but audio-wise it doesn't sound right. Right? It sounds a little off.
Yeah.
Sounds like he's on top of each other.
Pencil. Broken pencil.
So this is where I want to figure out which part of it's the part that's off. So if I select my track select forward tool, I'm going to come over here, and I'm just going to move all this stuff over for a second.
Pencil. Pencil.
So you never finishes saying pencil all the way, right? So I need to extend that out a little bit. So I'm going to go back and select my selection tool, or I can just hit V as my shortcut to select that tool. And when I come to the edge of the clip here, you see it changes to that red icon there. Whenever I'm at the edge here, what that means there is if I click and drag now, it's going to start extending this track out. So just because I created a in and out point before doesn't mean I can't manipulate it later on. What's great about video editing on a computer, it's what we call non-destructive. You know, I haven't deleted anything. It's all still there, and I can move it around still at this point. So I can maybe a little bit more. See, now he's finished saying it all the way. And now I want to get rid of this gap here and just bring them back together. Whenever I have a gap in Premiere, I can click in that gap and then hit the delete key on my keyboard, and it takes away the gap. See, that sounds a lot better all of a sudden.
Oh, forget it.
That was kind of a long pause there. Let's tighten that up a little bit. So I can take away clip as well.
Oh, forget it. Then what's the point?
And then we gotta tighten this up a little bit here as well.
Forget it. Then what's the point? Forget it. What's the point?
Oh, continuity error though. See the error that we can't do this cut. What's wrong with the continuity in this?
Oh, forget it. What's the point?
Look at his hands.
What's the point?
At the end of this clip, where are his hands? And then that clip, they're there. So, and this happens, if you watch film, it happens all the time. There's always continuity errors somewhere, you know. Someone's drinking a drink, and one clip the drink's up here, next clip the drink's down here. They're smoking a cigarette. It's a full cigarette, one shot. It's almost down to the butt in the next shot. Happens all the time. It's hard to keep consistent continuity. With movement, with acting, you really have to, especially something like that, you know. His hands are here, then they're here all of a sudden. You can't cover that up. So where I wanted to cut back to this 2-shot for just that take, either I have to now make a decision of doing the 2-shot for the entire last bit or extending out the OTS. I think I'm going to go for this option of doing this one.
Oh, forget it. What's the point?
Because now at least my continuity is better. So there's some other things to look. So I'm also going to show you how to fix up the audio, because you hear there's a lot of background noise in this audio. I'm going to fix that in a second. But you'll notice if I have, like, this is my playhead. If I have my playhead out here, and as my clip gets closer to it, see how it just kind of snaps right to that playhead? See what's happening there? Not everyone can see that because they're not all looking up here. See what's going on there? So that's called snapping. And it's really helpful for if you want things to line up and everything. Sometimes though you don't want that on, because if you're trying to do like a fine little like 1-frame adjustment and snapping's turned on, it'll force you to go somewhere where you don't want to go. So up here where this clock is, see I have these icons that are, anything that's in blue is turned on, these ones are turned off. So right here, the magnet, the one that looks like a magnet, what did I just do? I hit the wrong key. Oh, okay, that's what I did. This is called the snapping tool. So if I can turn snapping off, and now as it gets near that line, it's not affected by the playhead at all. It'll just go wherever. And when I come to the other clips, it won't do anything at all. And you can see that's kind of dangerous, because if I don't have snapping on and I try to line it up, I just overwrote part of that other clip. It doesn't, unlike an audition where we do audio, you overlay them, they blend together. With video, as you do it, all it's going to do is override it. It's just going to become the dominant clip. So as I'm coming, if I want clips to snap together, I need to make sure snapping is on, so that way, boom, it puts the edges right next to each other and I don't have a gap. If I have a gap, I'm going to have problems. You also have this tool right here. So I showed you we muted this first part. I could also just delete the audio from that first one and get rid of it completely. So, or I can move it to a different track. So one thing we could do, so let's turn this audio back on, right? So that's horrible. That's loud. We don't like that. One thing we can do is I can just close this for a second. I can click on this, and I can actually just drag straight down. It's not moving the video clip at all. All it's doing is moving the audio track onto a different track itself. So you can see the audio track for that is now on audio track 2, whereas the audio track for our dialogue is on audio track 1. And what that will allow me to do is, over here in my track settings, I can just mute by clicking on that M button, mute that entire track. So anything that I would place on the track is muted. So that's one way of doing it. So now, oh, it's completely muted. I don't have to worry about it. Or what I could do is right here, this one, link selection. What that's doing is saying my video and my audio are linked together. If my video moves, my audio moves. If my audio moves, my video moves. If I unselect that, I can now click on this audio and move it wherever I want. Of course, if I do that, if it's out of sync, it'll actually tell me, look, it's 1 minute, 6 seconds out of sync, or 1 second, 6 frames actually, out of sync. Or I could also just delete that part, and now I don't need it anymore. So there's different ways of going about getting rid of audio that you don't want. Now, of course, we have a straight cut.
How's it going?
I don't want a straight cut necessarily between outside and inside. I want like a little transition in there. So this is where I'm going to go to my effects. And I can choose a video transition, choose dissolve, or just do like a little cross dissolve. All I have to do is do that again. Sorry, I go fast sometimes. Just drag that cross dissolve right between. You want to go right where that line is. You don't want to be, if I'm here, it's only going to dissolve out the clip and then cut into the next one. Or it's going to cut out one and dissolve into the next. If I'm in the middle, it's going to do a cross dissolve between the two. So you can see there's a cross dissolve happening there. I need to mute this for a second. Mute. So I'm doing a cross dissolve between the two clips. And this is also where you can get to if you do a dip to dip to black, we'll dip it down and then back up again. It's like a fade to black, fade from black. Sometimes I like doing the dip to white because it's like a little. In fact, if I go in there and I change it to so if you want to change the duration of any of these transitions, if you double click on the transition itself, it brings you up your duration. So this is 1 second right now. I can get that right. I'm just doing like 5 frames, which is very short. And now it looks like a flash. Add a little camera sound to that. I just took a picture. Different ways of doing things. But I'm going to keep it with a simple cross dissolve for right now. Okay, so this is one of the reasons why I really love Adobe, because we want to clean up this audio. Oh, I have it muted still.
The joke I heard? Yeah, sure.
So you got a lot of audio background noise there, right? To get rid of this background noise, all of Adobe's products are linked together, so we can send something from one piece of software to another piece of software very easily. All I have to do is right-click on the audio part here, and up at the top here, you see it says Edit Clip in Adobe Audition. I click on that, and it's going to make a little copy of that audio file, and it's opening Adobe Audition right now, so you got to wait a second, or 4 seconds, or 5 seconds. You notice, look, the clip turned green real quick, because that means we're editing it in Adobe Audition now. Wide green, I don't know, but it is. So here's that audio clip.
You want to hear this really good joke I heard? Yeah, sure.
You can even see, this is where no one's talking, but there's still noise there. So this is our noise. What we're going to do is remove this noise. So I'm going to select a part that's just noise with no dialogue. I'm going to come up to Effects. And down here where it says Noise Reduction, Restoration, I'm going to do Capture Noise Print. Because that's it. What that's going to do is tell this part I have highlighted, this is noise. Recognize this as noise. So I've done that. Are you sure? Yes. And now I'm going to go back up to Effects, go back to my Noise Reduction, and hit the Noise Reduction process. And it's going to bring up this little chart here. And this is where it's showing where my noise is.
How's it going, Joe? You want to hear this really good joke I heard? Yeah, sure.
You hear that? Look at this, right?
How's it going?
Noise.
You want to hear this really good joke I heard? Yeah, sure.
It automatically figured out where some of the noise was. And I can get even more fine-tuned with it.
You want to hear this really good joke I heard? Yeah, sure. Knock, knock.
Now the one thing you want to be careful with, though,
you want to hear this really good joke I heard? Yeah, sure. Knock, knock. How's it going?
Is you don't always want to remove too much noise, because what it does is it starts making the voices sound funny as well. So you got to be careful not to overdo the noise reduction. You got to use your ears still, but you can see.
How's it going, Joe? You want to hear this really good joke?
Like if it's too much, it starts sounding like they're talking into a tin can.
I heard? Yeah, sure. Knock, knock.
So that's.
How's it going, Joe? You want to hear this really good joke I heard? Yeah, sure.
So there's a little bit of noise in there, but not too much. And it sounds a little natural now. I'm going to hit apply. It does the process. I'll hit Command S to save it. And when I go back to Premiere,
you want to hear this really good joke I heard?
It's already updated it. By saving in Adobe Audition, it's already sent the new file to Premiere without me having to re-import it. Now, because they're different clips, if I had one long clip, I could do it all at once. But because they're different, I have to actually go in for each one and say, go to Audition. But what's great is because you already have that noise print, I don't have to select that again. I can just go noise reduction process, hit apply, save. I'm going to go through and do it for all of them real quick. Apply, save. Apply, save, and one last one. So now, we listen to it.
How's it going, Joe? You want to hear this really good joke I heard? Yeah, sure. Knock, knock. Who's there? Broken pencil. Broken pencil, who? Oh, forget it. What's the point?
Sorry, I was laughing. So now we got a really good start going. We got our clips edited together. The only thing we have to add to this at this point, I know you said the lighting was an issue. Obviously, you can see here your lighting source is on the back. It's really brighter here on the back side than it is on the front side. Like if you had light on this side, it would have been better, because then you'd see better faces. Excuse me. So at this point, you really just need to add a soundtrack for the beginning and the end with credits. And the question is, do I have music already on my hard drive somewhere? I do. Where is it? Oh, is it my other hard drive that I have it on? Oh. What's this? No, that's not helpful. I'm going to steal it from something else real quick. This is totally not appropriate for this, but it's the music I have in my hard drive. So again, another way to get stuff in here, look, I can just take this audio file and I can just drag it right into my project, and boom, it's there. Now I have an audio file. And to bring this in as a sound clip, I'm just going to drag this in over to here in the beginning. I'm going to put it on a different audio track, though. I want this on a separate one for my vocals because I want to be able to manipulate separately. And as you can see, it's way too long. So I'm going to choose my razor tool by hitting the C button, C for cut. I'm going to cut it a little bit after the beginning there, and I can get rid of the rest of it. So you can see this is my audio track now. In effects, I can go to my audio transitions and get a crossfade for the end of it so it fades out.
How's it going, Joe? You want to hear this really good joke I heard?
It's not exactly the music I would usually use for that, but that's what I had. So now this is really coming together now.
How's it going, Joe?
Almost sounds like it should be a Law and Order episode. And the last thing we need to do is add credits at the end. So to add credits, to add a title to this, if you go on the top menu bar here, look, you got a title right in the top center. Click on title, new title. And we see we have different kinds of titles. We have a still, a roll, or a crawl. So we're going to use a still because we just want a static in the middle. Or if you wanted rolling credits, that'd be a roll. Or the crawl is going across the screen from left to right or right to left. So I'm going to choose, first I'm going to line up my playhead over a section here. I will choose a still. And I'll call this credits. You can see, because where my playhead is, it's going to show me a reference frame here. And this is a very simple graphics editor in here. It's just going to let me edit. I can make simple shapes in here. I can use different text. I can use different title styles down here that are already pre-built in if I wanted to. So I could easily just say, I'm going to choose this one, put my cursor. I want to make sure, where is it? Oh, I want to make it centered. Oh, cursor in the middle here, make it centered weight. I could say, video by Peter, edited by Keith, whatever. I'm not going to put I can't even spell my name. There is no spell check in this, so make sure your spelling's good. And then I can move it wherever I want. I also have on the left here, see where it says center? This centers it vertically, and this centers it horizontally. So it puts it, boom, right smack dab in the middle. I can make this, I can change the size of it, resize it, center it up. And then once I'm done, I click out of here. It's not like it's on the video clip. It actually just makes another file here in our project. So whatever I name them, so I can put these in a folder together, and I can drag them. I can either drag them and they can be on top of video, or I can make it over here and it'll just be on top of black at the end. So there's different ways you can manipulate this. And again, you can change the length of it. What I like to do is fake a little bit of movement in it by going to my effects here, do a wipe. If you add a wipe to it, now it looks like I'm drawing it on the screen. It's just a very simple way of adding some pizzazz to it. And this is it. I've created my first, of course I want to add my outro music over here as well. But this is how we get started. This is the beginning parts of it. Some other things I want to point out. Also, you notice here on the right are your audio levels. When you're playing, your target audio level is always going to try to be around this -12 area to -6. So actually it's a little quiet right now. We could increase that volume the same way we muted the volume before. We just increase the volume by dragging this up here and trying to get it to that -12 area. You guys have any questions so far? Anything I've missed? Yes, Manny.
What if you don't have any audio in your hard drive, but you want to let's say you want to put a song in it? How would you do that?
So Manny, that's a very good question, because what I was actually going to say is for the music you're going to use for these, just like we did for the podcast, I want you to create it in GarageBand. Well, that way you have royalty-free music and you can't have copyright protections filed against you. And you can monetize your stuff on YouTube and make money on it. They make like 3 cents, but whatever. The thing is, if you put, you put something from your iTunes collection, you can go in iTunes and drag a file right over. and it will work. But I rather, you know, it's not that hard to create something in GarageBand as far as music goes. It's quite simple, I think, than it used to be. Create something it doesn't have to be anything crazy. I mean, look, for this, it's literally 1, 2, 3 seconds of music.
What about for the video that's going to involve the sunsets and all that stuff?
So it's 30 seconds. So you're not creating anything very long, but you know, and it can be it can be a repetitive track that loops over and over again. I just want to take some little creativity. So once I'm done with a video clip, and I want to get this out of here and get it into our website and onto YouTube. Actually, let me back up for a second. Sorry. I want to show you something fun too. So now it's pretty well white balanced. Say something's not the right color. Say we need to adjust the color on it. Up here we have a color option. See in the top middle here, right now we're on editing. If I hit color, it's going to change my windows around a little bit. It's going to bring up my color editing tools, which are very handy. So these are scopes over here on the left. And as you look at it, it's actually representing the video frame itself from left to right. So you can see the arc of the color. See where the bright spot is on the wall here is where the highest part is on our scopes here. And it's showing you how bright different colors of the spectrum are as well. So here where it's dark, you can see there's very little light. Same with over here. It's actually here. You can see the table drawn out almost right here in the middle. If I wanted to change those scopes around a little bit, if I increase my exposure, you can see how the scopes go up now, almost to the top. You know, when I'm in the studio, I like to have my peaks almost near the top line here, so I know where we are. And this is a way, people, you're saying you had problems with lighting. Look, I'm artificially increasing that light right now. Now you don't want to overdo this because you will get some digital effects that kind of make it look like it was done like that, but you can do a little bit. What I like to do is also add contrast because it gives a little depth to it. You can make the highlights, I can make the shadows brighter and the highlights darker. Look at that. Look what I just did there. Right here, the shadows. So the parts that were dark on the other side of the face, I made that brighter. Made the highlights a little darker. And now it looks like the light's been moved. I never liked increasing the bright. There is a auto. I don't always trust it. Saturation. Look at that. Ugh, that's horrible. Oh, it's black and white all of a sudden. It's very artsy. Leave that 100. I can also up here manipulate the color temperature. Make it look cool. Make it look warm. We're in a desert. Oops. 0. Or I can add a tint to it. So this becomes, this part right here is called, right now I'm doing simple color correcting on it, but the term we use, like if we want to create an effect for a film or something, we call this color grading, where we can go through and we can give different feels to it to make it look like certain things. There's 2 ways that a lot of movies achieve this. You know, that's a couple of years old now. Who's seen The Matrix? Has everyone seen The Matrix? Who hasn't seen The Matrix? Man, you guys gotta watch more movies. How about something more recent? Trying to think. Oh, well, all right. So I was gonna say in The Matrix they have the real world and the fake world of the computers. When they're in the fake world, there's actually a green tint to the entire screen that they accomplish by putting a green filter in front of the lens. So they did that in camera. Griffith back in the 20s, did the movie Intolerance and had each time period different color tints. Something more recent, Mad Max, another technique we use. Who's seen Mad Max Fury Road? A couple of people, all right. So you know the nighttime scenes were not shot at night. They shot day for night. And you can do that, and when you put a blue tint to it, or blue filter on it, you can make it look like it's nighttime while shooting during the day. I'm assuming they shot day for night. I'm not really sure if they did, but it looked to me like they did, because it's easier that way. Yeah, Alex.
What do they do for like black and white? If like you're going back in time, do they just put a filter over it?
There's different ways you can do black and white. One is if they're shooting on film, they can just shoot straight on black and white film, if they know they're going to do that. If you're shooting digital, even if you're shooting color film, sometimes I'd rather shoot color and then drop it to black and white afterwards, because I can easily go, boom, black and white right now. You know, I can drop it out and make it black and white very easily. I do know some projects like the movie Clerks by Kevin Smith. It was shot in black and white, not because he was trying to be artsy, but because it was cheaper for him to shoot on black and white film than color film.
He also filmed it like 4 in the morning when it was closed.
Yeah. Oh, it was his senior thesis.
Yeah.
That was his senior film thesis, was Clerks. So they shot it at 4 in the morning at the convenience store on black and white film because that was the cheapest thing they could do. And it's all shot in one location because you didn't have to pay for other locations. Heck, Mallrats is all shot in a mall in the middle of the night too, when the mall was closed. You know, all that was shot at like 1 a.m. So there's a lot more in-depth stuff we can do as far as manipulating color inside this color area here. I don't want to go too far into it because that's like a whole nother. Oh, I like vignetting though. Vignetting. Ooh. Here, you want to do a little dream sequence kind of thing. Add a little vignette to the edge of it. There. It's a dream sequence. But we're not going to do that. We just did some basic color correction right here. Now, we could go through each one of these and do the exact same numbers, but that's a pain in the butt to do it that way. What we can do now is we actually, once we have this one highlighted, we can actually copy. Now I'm going to click on this one, and I can do a paste attributes, and it'll let me paste. So I didn't really do anything motion or anything like that. If I change the scale or anything, but I can paste that luminary effect on each one. Actually, I just select all of them, paste attributes, boom. Now they're all the same effect. So without having to go through each one and doing it individually, once I get one right, I can copy that effect and paste it to the rest of them. And now they all have that same effect because they're all shot the same way. Then just to get back to my original screen, go back to hit editing, and there we are. And look at the side-by-side clips there. Look at the original, look at what we just did with a simple 5-second adjustment. And with under a minute, I went through and adjusted that, and it's, you could argue 100% better. So you can save yourself in post-production sometimes. Of course, like I said, it's always better to do it in actual production, but there are ways of doing it in post. So once we have everything edited together, I have a really hard time saying edited. Once everything is edited together, and you need to export it, make sure your timeline is selected, because whatever is selected is what we're going to export. So I always like to make sure I have it selected down here. Go to File, Export Media, and you're going to get your export window pop up here. On the top right here is where we're going to start paying attention to our settings. Format's the first thing we look at. This is not the right format. The format you want to use is H.264. Because when I select H.264 and I go to these presets, I have all these presets. And if I go all the way to the bottom of the presets, I have YouTube presets. So I can select YouTube right from there. And now I come down. I can add comments if I want to, whatever. Output name. Right now, it's going You can hover over it, you can see where it's going. I can click on this, and I can change where it's going to save to. You know, I like to create a little export folder so I know where everything goes to the same spot. That's just my preference. It's always good to know where your stuff is going. Because we're using a preset, you don't really have to pay attention to any of these settings in here. And then we come down here and I have these two, right now it's highlighted on Q, or I can just hit export. If I hit export, Premiere Pro is going to export it and I can't do anything while it's happening. If I'm doing a lot of things at once, I can hit the Q button and I can queue them all up in another program that'll do them all at the same time without taking up Premiere's time. Because we are doing short clips, I could just export it here, but I'm going to show you what it looks like when I do the queue. If I hit export, it would just be a progress bar, nothing fancy happening. When I hit Q, it's going to start opening up. But this is it. So this is, because what I can do here, you know, I only had one clip done right now. Say I had all 3 of my projects done, I could queue all 3 up individually, and then they would all be in here. I can close Premiere out, and then I hit the little play button up here, and it renders out. But what's great is this program is also very powerful if I had other clips that I had to just reformat for something else. Say you had a video file that you had to reformat so it could be uploaded to YouTube. You can use this program to do that. Say you had a really large file type that had to get shrunk down so you could put it on an iPhone. You can do that all in here because it has Apple devices. You can reformat it for Apple TV if you wanted to. But now it's done. We rendered it. It's in our hard drive in my export folder. And there it is. Oh, I'm just muted. It's like, why isn't it playing?
How's it going, Joe? You want to hear this really good joke I heard? Yeah, sure.
So that's it. And once you have all 3 of your projects exported, then you can start uploading them to YouTube and put them on your website. So that's that one. Let me, where are we? That's knock knock. So the montage is pretty you're just going to put the clips together with the music underneath it. The staircase is, again, as I talked about last week, is you want to cut on the action so it looks like one continuous motion down. And to show you what I mean by that, let me create a new sequence. Staircase. That is clearly not the right file type. I don't know what it is. I'll just choose this one to have it yell at me again. Oh, that was the right one. Okay, cool. So I'll just do this one really quick here. Oh, that's the middle shot. See, that's the top shot. How'd you do this? That's the middle shot. So we'll go from there. This is my rough cut. Very rough. Start that later. So what you want to do with this, because right now I'm on the wrong foot, I want to make sure And you got that foot going down, so there. So now look. I can bring this one out a little further. Oops, too far. Right there. Fine tuning. That's it. Now they're all cut together perfectly. The goal is, you want to get as close to real where the foot is as possible, but you want it to make it, when someone watches it, they can't tell it's edited together. It's just one continuous motion down the steps.